because we saw this on X from our friends from the Detroit Times, who suggested that the Detroit Lions should consider Justin Fields as a backup quarterback.
AZ Sports, Mike Payton. Good job.
There you go. Great job. The Lions may be the very best spot for Justin Fields to get his career on track and why. It's an intriguing article, and I will say this. One thing about this to me highlights again how bad the pick of Hendon Hooker actually is.
I was just about to say, what happened with that? I'm confused.
I don't know either, because Hendon Hooker would have been, without the injury heading into the draft, would have been a first-round pick, and that's not even debatable. He's a first-round talent, not even debatable. Yep. The fact that they have had him now for a couple of years, and this year injury-free, and this wasn't a game in the first month of the season. This was after a season's worth of install.
Yeah. In other words, he knows the offense.
A season worth of practice.
Right.
Reps every week in practice. The fact that you signed Teddy Bridgewater.
Out of a high school coach.
Right off the field. And then actually when it came down time to it, you put Bridgewater in the game.
In the playoffs.
Highlights to me that they know what they've got.
Hooker was emergency quarterback that year.
Hendon Hooker. Now,
emergency.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I absolutely agree with the pick of Hendon Hooker in the third round. I thought it was a brilliant pick at the time. It seems like it hasn't worked out. And you know what? I'd still make that pick 10 times out of 10 and twice on Sunday. I absolutely would. But this is the perfect year now to cash in on the Hendon Hooker pick because of the weak quarterback class in free agency, because of the weak quarterback class in the draft. This would have been the absolute prime year to capitalize on that pick of Hendon Hooker and trade him to a team that could make him essentially a franchise quarterback. He clearly is not that, and he clearly may not even be the backup quarterback for this team in 2025.
Right.
Don't you think they damaged him a little by what they did in the playoffs?
Yeah, they would have to.
I mean, they damaged him because teams know. And if you're making this kid your bench warmer, your emergency quarterback in a playoff game, and your quarterback goes down with a concussion because Goff was concussed. He was played concussed the rest of that game. To not bring your rookie third-round pick in, that's completely healthy. Completely healthy. To make him the emergency quarterback that day, that means the only way he would have played is if one of the quarterbacks, either him or Bridgewater, either Goff or Bridgewater, would have been ruled out for the game. That's the only way an emergency quarterback goes on. And the reason they even had that rule, if you remember when the Eagles lost all their quarterbacks against the the 49ers lost all their quarterbacks against the Eagles a couple of years ago. There was no emergency quarterback, and they were running backs out to play in a playoff game, an NFC championship game, if you remember that, because Brock Purdy went down and the guy behind him went down.
Yeah,
so that's why they made this rule. So by the Lions dissing Hendon Hooker, I don't think he has any trade value. What are you going to get for him? A 7th-round pick? That's all he's worth right now.
Right. I don't even know if he's – well, yeah, he's worth that.
Yeah.
He's worth a shot in the dark.
That's it.
Right.
A team like Tennessee would take him maybe and see what they got. I mean, that's what they did with Malik Willis. They actually drafted Malik Willis. And now they got to sit around with the mayonnaise guy. Will Levis. Both of them have failed.
I will say that would be highly disappointing if Hooker can't even be competent enough to be your backup.
Correct.
Because that's then just another area of expense. Even if it's $1 million, even if it's a $2 million backup, you've got this player on a rookie deal, a rookie contract, a 3rd-round rookie contract.
Remember his age. That's the downside.
Well, yeah. And again, that's why you feel like this would be the year to trade him if he had that kind of capability, if he had that kind of stature to come in.
To go back to Justin Fields, I would roll the dice with him as my backup quarterback. I'd be happy
Well,
with him
yeah,
as my
of course.
backup
Yeah,
quarterback.
Better than Hendon Hooker.
But again, Justin Fields, I'm sorry, you're not getting for $1 million, $2 million a
Right.
year.
Right.
You know, you're spending at least $5 million, $6 million a year on that backup quarterback.
Probably.
You know,
Probably.
So yeah, I mean, I just think it's something so
4 years, $18 million is the current deal he's under.
So he's $4 or $5 million bucks a year, essentially $4.5 million bucks a year. Will he get more than that? I don't know. Will he get about that? We'll see. But again, $4 million is linebacker help. Is another defensive line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's more money to
Somebody
keep
on
your
offense.
players.
Absolutely.
You got a lot of players that you got to sign. A lot of free agents on this team, and you can only keep a certain amount of them.
Shedeur Sanders not participating in any drills
Shocker.
at the combine. Yeah, I mean,
Shocker.
Neither is Ashton Junty.
But here's the difference. Ashton Junty, the running back from Boise State, is clearly the number one running back.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a franchise-type running back.
Seems
is
like
that.
it.
People at least believe that. It's not even. It's Genty and a bunch of other people. That's what I
Yeah.
think it is.
I agree.
For Sanders, I think there are a lot of questions about Shedeur Sanders. And not only that, maybe he doesn't want to be the number one quarterback taken, because then you've got the Raiders and the Giants picking, does Tennessee go draft Cam Ward?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Maybe you're trying to pick your spots a little bit too.
They're going to try to trade that pick to a sucker team
Yeah, they are.
that is desperate for a quarterback, and they are desperate for a quarterback as well, Tennessee. But we'll see who the smart team is here, because like you said, there's really no one that's out there that's sticking out for you with that number one overall pick.
Just going to the quarterbacks. You know, Matt Miller on ESPN,
Yeah, he's very good.
very good draft guy. He put out his top 50 players overall in the draft. Genty is, number 6 player on the big board. So he's clearly the top running back. You have to go all the way down to number 13 where Cam Ward is. That's the first quarterback listed. And Shedeur Sanders, 22
Wow.
on this big board.
That's wild.
So, I mean, would you want to perform at the combine? Or is there only negative? Is it only bad?
It depends how athletic you are.
Right. I feel like it's only true.
Travis Hunter is going to show you what he's got.
Yeah.
You know that. There's guys that run up the board. Look at Anthony Richardson. He was drafted because of the combine. Other than that, he wasn't a very good quarterback in college, but he was a freak athlete. So that's where this thing, it's almost 40 years this thing's almost been going on now. 1987 it started in Indy. And guess what? Teams are going to be able to start bidding on this combine pretty soon, because they did that with the draft, and you could bet your bottom dollar that they're going to be doing it in the years coming. Indianapolis is fighting to keep it. I would not count on that right now. I will say this. Ashton Genty would be, if the Bears can get a guy like him, look out.
During just for craps and giggles,
That would be the Jahmyr Gibbs
do you know
for
who
Ben Johnson.
You know who the number 3 player on this big board is?
Who?
Will Johnson. Haven't played all year.
And he didn't have a
He
good
hasn't
year.
played.
He didn't play.
He didn't play.
He didn't play. I'm curious to see what happens with Travis Hunter and Will Johnson. You know, because if you look in doing all these workouts in California and Florida and all this stuff, and you see like NFL front office people say that Will Johnson's footwork is by far more elite than Travis Hunter's. You know, just for cornerback position. But you know, for Hunter, he's a guy that can play both ways, 3 ways, really. Pause.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know, man. I'm looking at the draft order right now. For the
this
Bears
is a bad draft. This is a depth draft.
for the Bears to
Bad
get
draft.
him, they're
Right.
picking at number 10. I bet you they move up and they get that kid. They get Genty. I'm betting on the Bears moving up and getting him.
Be interesting. I think Ben Johnson saw what a running back could
bet.
do for an offense.
What a special running back
Yeah.
can do
Special
for your
running
offense.
Swift is not in the mix there anymore, is he?
Yeah,
He's
he's
there,
still the
but
running
I
back,
don't know
is
if
he?
he'll be in the mix.
Well, I mean, he was with Ben Johnson for a year,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah, he could be a good backup. good secondary guy. He's like David Montgomery, but way less. Than
Isn't
David
it something
Montgomery.
when there's no
Montgomery, we're not good.
like how much less interested you are in the draft when there's not a lot of quarterbacks?
And especially when we're picking at 28.
Well, I know the Lions, but even so, I mean, last year they were picking late in the draft.
but we
as
had the
well.
draft.
We had the draft as well, but there
in
were
Green Bay this
all
year.
those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like like
QB porn.
QB porn. Thank you. I wanted to say it. You heard it. It was like quarterback porn. It was like this guy's going here. This
Well, we
guy's
love
going
the
here.
draft.
It was fantastic.
Everyone loves the draft. That
I'm
used
a
to be our
draft guy.
Super Bowl.
I know, it used
In
to be.
fact, well, speaking of the Super Bowl, that's what the NFL is doing now. It's giving cities who would not get the Super Bowl,
Yep.
like Green Bay,
Yeah.
like Detroit, like Kansas
Like
City,
Pittsburgh next
like
year.
Pittsburgh. Teams that would not get the Super Bowl are getting the draft. I think it's a great way to get everybody involved.
And that's why the combine is going to be farmed out as well.